Do you ever find yourself holding your breath without realizing it, bracing for a wheeze or a cough to sneak up on you? For many people over 65, managing asthma can feel like a balancing act, especially when it comes to using controller medication correctly. A lot of folks think asthma is just a matter of reaching for an inhaler when breathing becomes difficult, but there's a whole world of subtle mistakes that can creep in once we add age-related changes, multiple prescriptions, and evolving healthcare guidelines into the mix. If you've ever questioned whether you're using your inhaled steroids too often, or wondered why you still feel breathless despite following the rules, this conversation might be exactly what you need. The challenge becomes even more significant when we consider how our bodies change over time. Asthma is often associated with younger people or assumed to be well managed by the time we reach our senior years. Yet the truth is that medication absorption, lung function, and even the ability to coordinate breathing with an inhaler can shift once we're in our late 60s and beyond. The unfortunate result? Some seniors either rely on their controller medication too heavily or they don't use it consistently enough. Others might skip critical steps, like shaking the inhaler properly or cleaning the device, because they don't realize how crucial these details are to their health. It's incredibly important to address this issue because the stakes are high. Properly managed asthma means greater independence, fewer trips to the hospital, and more energy to engage in the activities you love. Whether you enjoy gardening, playing with the grandkids, or simply walking up the stairs without feeling winded, good asthma control can be a real game changer for your day-to-day life. What you'll discover here are 6 common mistakes seniors make with their asthma controller medication. Mistakes that can compromise breathing, reduce overall quality of life, and sometimes even put you in harm's way. By understanding these pitfalls and learning how to avoid them, you can open the door to more easeful breathing and regain confidence in your daily activities. Imagine the relief of knowing your inhaler technique is spot on, or that you're working hand in hand with your doctor to ensure each medication you take complements the others. Think about what it would mean to feel that sense of control, to walk up a slight incline or into a cold room without worrying that your lungs will tighten up. Those are the kinds of real-life benefits people notice when they take the right steps. You don't need to become a medical expert to see positive changes. You just need the right information and the willingness to act on it. In just a moment, we'll explore those 6 big mistakes. As we walk through each one, see if any resonate with you. You might discover something you hadn't considered before, or you might confirm a suspicion you've had about your own medication routine. And if you find yourself saying, "I'm not sure if I do that or not," that's a perfect sign you might need a quick check with your healthcare provider. Take a deep breath and let's begin. First, let's address an assumption many seniors carry, that their asthma isn't that bad anymore, so they don't need their controller medication as often. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Perhaps you haven't had a severe attack in years, and you think you've outgrown the worst of it. But the absence of serious attacks doesn't always reflect what's happening behind the scenes in your lungs. This misconception often stems from a mix of wishful thinking and a desire to avoid taking more medication than necessary. One example of this is Margaret, a 70-year-old who enjoyed regular walks around her neighborhood. She used to have frequent asthma flare-ups in her 50s, which eventually settled down by her late 60s. Convinced she was in the clear, Margaret cut back on her controller medication, figuring she'd only need it in emergencies. At first, nothing dramatic happened. She still took her daily stroll and felt fine most days. But over time, she noticed subtle changes: a persistent cough in the mornings, a little more trouble climbing the stairs, and a tightness in her chest on colder days. She brushed these off as normal aging, not realizing they were early signs her asthma was no longer controlled. What many older adults don't realize is that asthma control can be deceptive. You might feel relatively okay day to day, yet your airways could be inflamed. Controller medications, often inhaled corticosteroids, are designed to keep that inflammation in check, preventing future flare-ups that can be more serious. The new perspective is that consistent use of controller medication helps maintain steady lung function, reducing the chances of an unexpected severe attack. And because our lung capacity naturally decreases as we age, any extra inflammation can have a bigger impact on breathing than it might have when we were younger. So what's the practical step? Talk with your doctor or pharmacist about your medication schedule. If you've been prescribed a daily inhaler, use it as directed, even when you feel fine. Keep a symptoms diary for a few weeks, noting any mild breathlessness or wheezing. This record can help healthcare providers see patterns you might overlook. Emotionally, sticking to a regular schedule can bring peace of mind. You'll know you're taking proactive measures, and you'll have a benchmark to compare against if anything starts to change. Another benefit is that consistent medication use can lead to a greater sense of control over your life. Instead of worrying about when the next attack might strike, you can feel more confident planning outings or social events. Remember, feeling okay isn't the same as being well managed when it comes to asthma. A little prevention can go a long way. Before moving to the next point, consider asking yourself, have I ever skipped doses because I thought I was doing fine? If so, you might be missing out on the protective benefits of your controller medication. Sometimes it's the small, daily habits that keep bigger problems at bay. Let's continue to a second pitfall that's quite common: using your inhaler incorrectly without even realizing it. It might sound surprising. How complicated could it be to use an inhaler? But technique matters a lot. Even small errors in timing your breath or not shaking the inhaler thoroughly can significantly reduce how much medication actually reaches your lungs. John, who was 68, thought he was following instructions perfectly. He pressed down on the inhaler and breathed in right away. But what he didn't notice was that he often exhaled slightly before taking the puff, expelling a chunk of the medication into the air. On top of that, he rarely rinsed his mouth afterward because he hadn't been told why it was important. Over time, John started experiencing more throat irritation and less relief from the inhaler, leaving him puzzled. If any of this sounds familiar, you're far from alone. Research shows that a large percentage of people use their inhalers incorrectly. The twist is that the correct method usually involves coordination. Exhaling first, then inhaling slowly and deeply as you press the inhaler, and finally holding your breath for a few seconds to let the medication settle. Additionally, rinsing your mouth can prevent infections like thrush, especially with steroid-based inhalers. The new perspective here is understanding that small adjustments in technique can make a huge difference, especially as we age. Our reflexes might slow down a bit, or we might not have the same forceful inhalation we did in our 40s. This makes precise timing even more crucial. Many healthcare providers and pharmacists offer inhaler technique demonstrations. Taking advantage of these lessons could drastically improve how well the medication works for you. In practical terms, ask for a refresher the next time you have an appointment. It can be helpful to bring your inhaler with you so a professional can watch you use it and give you real-time feedback. Some people also find spacer devices helpful. These attachments make it easier to inhale the medication slowly, ensuring more of it reaches your lungs instead of the back of your throat. The emotional benefit is that you'll have confidence in your skills. Instead of doubting whether you're doing it right, you can trust that each puff is giving you the therapeutic dose you need. Reflect for a moment. Do you remember the last time you asked someone to check your inhaler technique? If it's been years, or if you can't recall ever doing it, consider making that a priority. In the meantime, don't hesitate to review written or video instructions from reliable medical sources. A few minutes of practice could mean a lot more comfort in the long run. Moving along, let's discuss a third mistake many seniors fall into: failing to account for changes in your other medications. As we age, we often accumulate prescriptions for conditions like high blood pressure, cholesterol, arthritis pain, or diabetes. Polypharmacy, taking multiple medications, can complicate asthma management because certain drugs can interact or cause side effects that mimic asthma symptoms. For instance, Irene at 74 was taking a beta blocker for her heart condition. Over time, she noticed increased shortness of breath and assumed her asthma was getting worse. She ramped up her controller inhaler use, but the discomfort persisted. After a thorough medication review with her pharmacist and doctor, she realized that her beta blocker could have been contributing to her breathing issues, and a small adjustment significantly improved her comfort. The misconception is that each medication operates in a silo, and if your asthma is flaring, you simply need more asthma drugs. But the bigger picture often reveals interactions. Certain heart medications, anti-inflammatory drugs, or even over-the-counter sleep aids can affect respiratory function. The new perspective is that a regular medication review is essential for anyone managing asthma, especially after 65. Our bodies metabolize drugs differently as we age, and what worked well 5 years ago might not be the best choice now. What can you do? If you haven't done so recently, schedule a medication review with your healthcare team. Bring a list, or better yet, the actual bottles of everything you take, including supplements. Ask specific questions about how each drug might affect your breathing. If there's a conflict, your doctor or pharmacist may be able to suggest alternatives or adjust dosages. The emotional payoff? Peace of mind. Instead of feeling left in the dark, you'll have a clearer sense of how your medications work together. Physically, you might notice fewer side effects, and your asthma regimen could become more effective with just a small tweak elsewhere. Imagine the relief of discovering that a medication you've been taking for years is no longer optimal, and that switching to a different option dramatically improves your lung function. You'd not only breathe easier, but also feel a renewed sense of control over your health decisions. This can reduce anxiety, knowing that each pill and puff has been carefully considered. After all, medication is meant to improve your quality of life, not complicate it. Up next is a fourth mistake: neglecting to store and maintain your asthma medications properly. It's easy to overlook details like temperature and humidity levels, or to forget to replace an inhaler that's nearing its expiration date. Yet these factors can directly influence the potency and safety of your medications. Take Walter, a 72-year-old who kept his rescue inhaler in his car glove compartment all year round. He didn't think twice about extreme heat in the summer or sub-zero temperatures in the winter. Over time, he noticed that the inhaler sprays felt weaker, and he wasn't getting the usual quick relief. This prompted him to check the expiration date and realize he was months beyond it. He then wondered if the harsh temperature swings had compromised the medication even more. It's a common misconception that as long as there's still a puff coming out, the inhaler must be effective. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Medications can degrade over time, especially in conditions that are too hot, too cold, or too humid. The new perspective? Just like you'd store perishable foods carefully, your inhalers deserve a stable environment, usually at room temperature and away from direct sunlight or moisture. And if you're using a controller medication that comes in powder form, moisture can cause clumping, reducing its effectiveness. Your action step here is simple but essential. Check your medication labels for storage guidelines and ensure you're following them. Mark your calendar or set a reminder on your phone to check expiration dates at least once every few months. For some, placing the inhaler in a designated safe spot at home, like a drawer or cabinet in a temperature-controlled room, makes all the difference. Emotionally, it offers reassurance. When you pick up that inhaler, you'll know it's in good working condition. There's a quiet comfort in trusting that your medications will perform as intended when you need them most. It's also wise to keep an extra rescue inhaler in a safer location if you like to leave one in the car for emergencies. That way, you'll have a backup that hasn't been exposed to extreme conditions. Ask yourself, do I store my medications in a way that respects the manufacturer's guidelines? If the answer is no, or you're not sure, this is an easy fix that can significantly improve the reliability of your asthma treatment. Before moving on, take a moment to consider whether your current storage habits might be affecting your controller medication. Sometimes simply reorganizing your medicine area can be a big step toward improving your asthma control. Let's move on to a fifth pitfall: believing that occasional symptoms are just part of aging, rather than a sign your asthma regimen needs adjusting. It's surprisingly common to dismiss mild coughing spells, nighttime wheezing, or a bit of chest tightness as the inevitable aches and pains of growing older. But not all breathing problems are normal signs of aging. Think of Terrence, age 69, who began waking up at night with mild coughing fits. They weren't severe enough to fully alarm him, and he assumed they were simply part of getting older. It wasn't until a particularly restless week that he mentioned it to his physician, who quickly recognized that Terrence's asthma was poorly controlled during the night. A small tweak in his evening medication routine drastically improved his sleep quality, and he woke up feeling more energetic. The big misconception here is that mild or sporadic symptoms don't matter much. In reality, they can be indicators of underlying airway inflammation or an ineffective medication plan. The new perspective is that you shouldn't have to accept poor sleep, chronic coughing, or even occasional wheezing as your new normal. Asthma is a chronic condition, but one that can be well managed with the right tools and strategies, even in your senior years. What steps can you take? Start by paying attention to subtle patterns. Do you notice more shortness of breath when it's humid or during allergy season? Does your chest feel tight more frequently than it used to? Keep a simple diary or use an app on your phone to track these occurrences. Share this information with your healthcare provider. It helps them make more informed decisions about adjusting dosages or trying different medications. On an emotional level, recognizing that I don't have to live with this is incredibly empowering. It shifts your mindset from passive acceptance to active management, which can improve both your mood and your physical well-being. Think back to the last time you dismissed a symptom. Was it a fleeting cough or a moment of breathlessness on the stairs? Instead of shrugging it off, consider it a data point. Your body is sending you signals, and acknowledging them can lead to better control and a higher quality of life. This doesn't mean you should panic over every cough, but it does mean you should be aware and proactive. Maintaining good asthma control allows you to enjoy your daily routines without the nagging worry that something might go wrong. Finally, there's a sixth mistake that often goes unrecognized: skipping regular checkups and relying solely on past prescriptions. Life gets busy, and it's easy to think, my asthma's been the same for years. I'll just stick with what works. But as we age, what works can change. Whether it's shifts in lung capacity, interactions with new medications, or changes in the environment you live in, asthma is rarely static. A treatment plan that was effective in your 50s may not be as efficient in your late 60s or 70s. Consider Harriet, 73, who had her asthma meds figured out, or so she thought. She rarely went to the doctor unless she was feeling unwell. Over time, she developed a tolerance to certain medications, and her body's overall sensitivity changed. She also moved from a dry climate to a more humid region to be closer to family. Suddenly, she found herself reaching for her rescue inhaler multiple times a day. Her old prescription no longer matched her new reality. It wasn't until she had a severe flare-up that she finally made an appointment. Her doctor performed a lung function test and discovered she needed an updated regimen better suited to her new environment and stage of life. The misconception is that routine checkups are a hassle, or if it's not broke, don't fix it. However, the real insight is that proactive healthcare can catch small issues before they become major problems. Even if you feel stable, scheduling periodic reviews allows your doctor to measure lung capacity and fine-tune your treatment. Doing so can prevent medication overuse, reduce side effects, and keep you feeling your best. Emotionally, making regular appointments can alleviate worry. You'll know you're on top of your health rather than guessing or waiting for something to go wrong. It's also a good opportunity to ask any questions you might have and stay informed about new inhaler technologies or therapies that could be beneficial. Your action step? If you haven't seen your healthcare provider in a while to specifically discuss your asthma, consider making an appointment. Keep notes on any changes you've noticed in your breathing or lifestyle. Even small updates, like switching your workout routine or moving to a different city, can influence your lungs. By being proactive, you give yourself the gift of confidence and better health management. At this point, it might feel like there's a lot to keep track of: consistent medication use, correct inhaler technique, keeping an eye on potential drug interactions, proper storage, noticing subtle symptoms, and scheduling regular checkups. The good news is that each step reinforces the others, creating a strong safety net for your respiratory health. None of these actions require you to turn your life upside down. They just take a little extra attention and a willingness to adapt as you grow older. Let's take a moment to recap what this all means for you. The first step is acknowledging that your asthma can still be an influential factor in your daily life, even if you've been managing it for decades. The second is to remember that each seemingly small action, like storing your inhaler away from extreme temperatures or taking that extra 5 seconds to exhale properly before using your inhaler, has a big impact on how well you breathe. Polypharmacy reviews, consistent checkups, and understanding that even mild symptoms can be important signals all play crucial roles. When you see them as interconnected pieces of the same puzzle, the picture becomes clearer. Now is the time to act. Address these concerns before you find yourself caught off guard by a severe flare-up or forced to skip a beloved activity because you just can't catch your breath. There's no need to live under the shadow of, what if I start wheezing? Instead, you can look forward to gardening, traveling, or simply walking around the block with a sense of calm, knowing your regimen is up to date and aligned with your current needs. If you're feeling that twinge of urgency, good, that means you're ready to make a change. You can start small. Check your inhaler technique this week, or pick up the phone to schedule a review with your doctor. Maybe you'll decide to organize your medications in a way that helps you track your daily doses more easily. If you're feeling ambitious, go all in and address multiple areas at once. The key is to do something, because each step you take will reinforce a healthier, more confident you. You might be someone who wants to dive deeper into the subject. Maybe you'll reach out to a local asthma support group or read up on new studies about aging and lung function. Or perhaps you'd rather just focus on the most pressing issue first, like ensuring your inhaler is stored correctly. Whatever route you choose, remember that you're in the driver's seat. You have the experience and wisdom to know your own body better than anyone else. Healthcare professionals are your teammates, but you're the one who steers the course. As you move forward, keep an open mind. If you try a new approach and find it doesn't feel right, you can adjust. The journey to better asthma management is rarely a straight line. More often, it's a process of continuous learning and fine-tuning. Know that each choice you make, from addressing medication interactions to scheduling those checkups, is a powerful investment in your independence and well-being. So here's the final thought to take away. You're not just coping with asthma, you're proactively shaping how you want to live. Breathing is one of the most fundamental aspects of health, and you deserve to do it without undue struggle or worry. By avoiding these 6 mistakes and staying vigilant, you can reclaim a sense of freedom and confidence in your day-to-day life. If that's not worth taking action for, what is? You can start right now by picking one tip from this conversation, maybe the one that struck you the most, and putting it into action. If you need further guidance or have lingering questions, don't hesitate to reach out to a healthcare professional. Sharing this information with a friend or family member who also deals with asthma can create a supportive community where you each help the others stay accountable. Here's to breathing easier, staying active, and fully enjoying all the opportunities that life after 65 has to offer. You've got this, and you're far from alone on this journey.